Alright, Ash. I have big news and a lucrative assignment. Argulia has secured military aid from a defense contractor beyond the blockade. They'll be flying in tomorrow and require an escort to get through. Unfortunately, when they chartered the cargo flight, we weren't consulted. Its flight path will take it through a hot blockade zone, one used by amateur runners who don't know any better. We'll be sending in a small flight to avoid detection for as long as possible, but the Coalition will definitely see the cargo plane coming. You'll be up against carrier-borne fighters from the blockade force, and maybe a destroyer squadron or two, depending on where their patrols are. These pilots aren't as battle-hardened as those in the successor states, but they're much better trained and fly modern fighters. We're not going to risk Mystic going out that far, but you'll be flying with Viking. She's been doing this a long time and seen more than her share of dogfights with Coalition pilots. Take her advice and I'm sure you'll do fine.
All
Amazing work, pilots. Our informants report that the two carriers you engaged lost so many fighters that they're both being recalled to their home countries. The Coalition's losses will open things up for our competitors, but it's still a testament to your skill. The Argulians send their thanks and confirm they've received their military aid. They again neglect to provide details, but based on what you two have told me, it's definitely some kind of advanced jamming hardware. Where they've sourced it from is up for debate, but the flight vector was out of an Albanian Air Force base. It's not the first time that we've seen cutting-edge avionics wind up here. Intel tells us that Durkels even has a few 5th-generation airframes in service. Outside countries and companies seem to see the Kingdom as a fertile testing ground for their weapons systems. It's good business for us if it keeps these wars going, but it's exactly what the Legion was set up to prevent. Hopefully, something as mundane as a jammer won't be enough to recall their attention from whatever's brewing in Neria and Antar now. Anyway, we've got other cargo flights inbound to help out the Argulians, and we're flying round the clock with this new weak point in the blockade. With all this new material coming in, I presume the Argulian counteroffensive will begin soon. Go get some rest. You'll need it for the coming days.
From the end of World War II until the 60s, the superpowers were locked in a nuclear arms race and maintained a policy of mutually assured destruction. This came to a head in August of 1963. We don't know exactly what happened or who launched first, but the first volleys between Kassel and Poltavia, the most built-up nations at the time, were mostly aimed at military targets. With the world's largest militaries decimated, their allies engaged in nuclear and conventional proxy wars, while third parties took advantage of the power vacuum to expand their own borders. The Kingdom annexed and invaded some of its neighbors over the course of the conflict, and never fully integrated them before it fell apart years later. Unable to wipe each other out even if they wanted to, the superpowers reached a ceasefire 1 week later. While an apocalyptic nuclear war was averted, the world was irreparably changed. Seeing an atomic exchange unfold without the massive environmental changes or civilian casualties predicted by political and military leaders largely removed the taboo on their use, and even the Kingdom's full-scale nuclear war did little to change people's minds. The superpowers' defanged militaries originally built Angels as nuclear delivery platforms, but over time the term has come to encompass